On a stormy night, the wind howled eerily through the desolate corridors of an apparently abandoned school. A group of curious students, drawn by the legend of the Nightmare Club, decided to explore a forsaken and mysterious wing of the school building. It was said that the club, known to have been banned due to paranormal experiments conducted decades ago, left an aura of terror. Ignoring the warnings of those who had advised them about the danger of awakening the dark forces hidden behind the sealed doors, the group decided to defy the prohibition. Once inside the secret club, they began to experience eerie phenomena. Unexplainable noises echoed through the corridors, and strange apparitions appeared and disappeared in the darkness. The group members began to feel a sense of oppression as the tension increased in the air, filled with mystery. As they explored the rooms, the lights began to flicker, casting ghostly shadows on the crumbling walls. Spectral visions seemed to dance behind half-closed doors, and footsteps could be heard from empty hallways. Each member of the group began to understand that there was something extraordinarily dark within the club, something much more powerful and sinister than they had imagined. As they delved deeper, the group split up, each searching for clues that could reveal the secrets of the accursed club. However, the space seemed distorted. The corridors stretched endlessly, and the doors led to increasingly spectral rooms. The lights seemed to fade, engulfing the environment in palpable darkness. Each member of the group began to experience personal horrors, frightening visions and vivid nightmares that challenged their perception of reality. One boy suddenly disappeared without a trace, while another seemed trapped in a frightening loop, reliving a traumatic event continuously. As they attempted to escape, the doors violently shut, clearly indicating the insidious trap in which they were ensnared. The entities that dwelled in the Nightmare Club seemed to push the group members into sinister games, testing their deepest fears and manipulating their nightmares. Finally, after what felt like endless hours, the group found the exit of the club. They managed to escape unharmed, but their souls were scarred by immeasurable fear. However, their escape seemed only the prelude to something more terrifying. Their actions had unleashed an even deeper darkness. A curse spread, engulfing the entire school. Every night, the echoes of the club's nightmare could be heard in the corridors and classrooms, and the students felt the presence of the entities envelop the school, continuing to haunt their dreams and lives. On a stormy night, the school seemed desolate, enveloped in an atmosphere of mystery. A group of students, drawn by tales of an ancient book hidden in the school's library, decided to challenge the legends and embark on a nighttime adventure. It was Emily, a bold girl always seeking adventures, and her closest friends, Matt, Sophie, and Alex. They had heard about a mystical book, hidden for a long time in the school library, said to have the power to predict the future or grant the reader secret knowledge. Finding this ancient artifact and unraveling its mysteries had become an obsession. Reaching the library with the aid of a stolen key, they ventured beyond closing hours. The place seemed even more enchanting, immersed in darkness illuminated only by the spectral light of the students' flashlights. The weary, silent hallways seemed to transport them to a different world, and the library, with its literary heritage and dusty volumes, offered both a welcoming and eerie atmosphere. While traversing the narrow aisles, searching for the legendary book, something sinister captured their attention. Alex froze. He noticed a shadow that seemed to brush the books, moving fluidly behind the shelves. A shiver ran down everyone's spine. A few seconds later, the shadow dissipated, leaving the group in a state of bewilderment. "Did you see something?" asked Sophie, looking around, visibly alarmed. "A shadow. It was moving over there," said Alex, his voice laced with fear. "It might just be a trick of the light, or something more," said Emily, trying to maintain her composure. Despite the unsettling sighting, they decided to continue their search. Often, old buildings, especially the library, were prone to creating illusions, and everyone wanted to believe it was merely one of those oddities that an anxious mind might conjure. After hours of rummaging through shelves and corridors, when they finally neared the section where the mysterious book was believed to be, the flickering light of their flashlights began to play strange tricks. Lights and shadows intertwined, and the dense, suffocating atmosphere seemed to intensify every fear. And it was at that moment that they felt a presence they never wanted to perceive. A voice echoed in the library, but none of the friends could find the source of that eerie lament. "Darn, what was that voice?" exclaimed Matt, his heart racing. The atmosphere grew even more tense, nerves on edge and the sense of oppression heightened with every passing minute. But they were not yet ready to give up. They decided to investigate further, to see if they could find the book, or at least understand what was happening in the library. Suddenly, Sophie vanished into thin air. The echo of her footsteps faded into a desperate whisper. They shouted her name, tried everything to figure out where she had gone, but it was as if the shadow had swallowed every trace of their friend. One by one, the kids began to disappear, leaving only traces of fear and despair in the endless darkness. Emily found herself alone. She realized the library wasn't as she initially found it. The shelves seemed to move, the voices melded together, and every corner seemed to harbor a threat. They must have been hallucinations, Emily repeated to herself, trying to reassure her shaken nerves. When she finally found the way out and was outside the school, she turned to look back. The library appeared as it always did. Nothing of what she had experienced was visible from the outside. But when she returned to school the next day, she saw the library in its place, and no sign of her missing friends. The spectral presence seemed to have dissipated into the night air, and their names had vanished from the school records. Nobody would ever know what happened in that library that night. The kids had disappeared without a trace, as if they had been swallowed by the library's shadow. On a calm afternoon, the sound of basketball shoes squeaking and the noise of kids working out echoed through the school gymnasium. As the sun was beginning to paint the sky gold and the horizon colored itself in shades of orange, a group of students was getting ready for their training, hoping to improve their athletic performance. As they headed towards the changing rooms, one of the students, Jack, noticed something unusual. A small opening in the wall appeared hidden behind some shelves filled with sports equipment. Curious to find out what was behind that door, he pointed out the opening to his friends. "Look here, there's a hidden door behind these shelves," exclaimed Jack, a mix of excitement and nervousness in his voice. The group of students approached the seemingly forgotten door. With a bit of effort and a few shoves, they managed to open the entrance. A faint light seeped inside, revealing a dusty and abandoned room. "It seems like no one has been in here for years," Sarah said, looking around in wonder. The walls were covered in dust, and an atmosphere of neglect enveloped the space. Worn-out sports gear lay on rusted shelves, evidence of a past sporting season. But as they explored the room, they noticed a door on the opposite side that seemed to lead deeper into the darkness. "What's back there?" Thomas asked, a tinge of fear in his voice. Curiosity trumped fear, and the tension in the air pushed them to continue forward. Venturing into the next room, flickering lights and a silent atmosphere increased the sense of mystery. The next room seemed even more neglected and desolate. Broken furniture and disused sports equipment filled the space. But in a dark corner, they noticed a blurry and spectral figure. A sense of discomfort and a shiver ran down everyone's spine. The figure seemed to take shape, a hazy image materializing before their wide eyes. It was a terrifying-looking athlete, appearing with a pale luminescence. "What is that?" Lucy asked, trembling with fear. The ghost exuded an aura of sadness and despair. It spoke of a broken athletic career and a premature death, apparently during a sports activity that took place right there. It implored the students to help, begging them to bring the truth to light and find peace. The room suddenly turned into a place of anguish and terror. The atmosphere became menacing, and the spectral figure seemed to become increasingly unstable and frightening. The lights flickered, the air grew heavier, and the terrifying athlete's cries filled the space. Terrified, the students tried to return to the door to exit, but it seemed that the way out had disappeared. They were trapped in that room with the ghost of the athlete. As fear escalated, The students realized they would have to find the key to free the ghost soul from its spectral prison. It was the only way to dissipate the darkness and find peace. With courage and determination, they started delving into the athlete's past, searching for documents, magazines, and photos that might shed light on his premature death. Each clue led to a harrowing discovery: an accident during a sports activity, unidentified culprits, and a hidden truth that had never been revealed. After a long and intense search, the students managed to find the necessary evidence to unravel the intricate mystery surrounding the ghostly athlete. Discovering forgotten documents and reading old newspaper articles, they fully understood the athlete's story. Armed with such evidence, they were able to put an end to the tormented soul's agony. The ghostly athlete seemed to have found relief. Finally freed from its spiritual confinement, it could leave the room where it had been trapped for years. A feeling of peace and serenity filled the space, bringing a sense of closure and liberation to that forgotten part of the gym. The students' faces reflected a mix of surprise and understanding in the face of such an extraordinary event. The athlete's release seemed to bring a sense of balance and harmony to an environment once steeped in darkness and mystery. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content.